Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk some more about using an LLM, about what works for me and what you may want to try during this semester. Before you watch this, please make sure you watch the TED Talk on procrastination first. And I'd like you to think for a couple minutes about whether you enjoyed that and what you thought of his conversational style, how he presented it. Did his use of humor work? Because humor can be the most difficult thing to share with a diverse audience. How he used visual aids, and also how much personal information he revealed. Now, moving on to LLMs. I want to be clear that I love my LLM. I absolutely love it. It gives me instant feedback and it helps me fight both procrastination and perfectionism because those two things go hand in hand for me. It gets me unstuck. I'm very good at recognizing when something isn't good enough, but it gives me another idea and it helps me solve it. I like my dopamine hits as much as anyone. And most of my dopamine hits are crushing candy and other stupid stuff, doom scrolling. And ChatGPT, which is what I use, helps me get stuff done. There's a big gap between how something looks in my brain and how it looks on the screen. And ChatGPT helps me make that gap smaller, so I'm more excited about the work I'm doing. Inside the Mind of the Master Procrastinator, that TED Talk, I have the problem of the dark playground too. I think mine is more starting something and then deciding it isn't good enough, and I get frustrated and I just give up, and then I doom scroll or I listen to podcasts and play video games. And ChatGPT gets my ideas from my head onto the screen, and then I get really excited about the work I'm doing. So I always start with my draft. The LLM is just there to polish. It helps me write for real people, not academics. I have a PhD, and sometimes it sounds like I have it, and that's never a good thing, unless I'm writing for other PhDs, which are few and far between. It lets me experiment, it lets me revise, and it does all of this faster. So it gets me to do my best, which is really exciting for me. I believe you need to start with a conversation. Your LLM needs to know about you to really help you. So the more it knows about your goals and interests and challenges, the better it can coach you. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And if you don't know, that's okay. Tell it what you love and what you don't. What are you good at? What gives you confidence? What's hard for you? What kind of assignments make you want to just quit? Or you're just doing the bare minimum because you hate it and you feel like you're jumping through a hoop? What have been your favorite school experiences and what about them did you like? And what have you disliked about school? And then ask the LLM what it notices about how you think. That's called metacognition, thinking about thinking, and it's very important. And now I'd like you to ask it to help you get more out of this class. Tell it about your strengths and goals and struggles and ask for a plan. Now, this is weird. I'm going to say to give it an LLM a personality. Your LLM works better when you train it to work in the way you want it to. So I have told mine to be a clever, smart collaborator, but no humor. Start with a supportive response. Tell me something I've done right. Then get brutally honest with specific, actionable feedback, but no sugarcoating. Bullet point my mistakes and suggestions on how to fix it. And every few weeks, I ask it, how can I use you better? Because it has some really good ideas I wouldn't have thought of. So when you are creating your LLM personality profile, take a little bit of time and think about what kind of voice do I want? Do I want it serious or casual? If there's somebody you like reading, say, write like whoever it is you like reading. How do you want your feedback? Do you want compliments first? Do you want a numbered to-do list? Do you want the harsh stuff? It probably won't give you the harsh stuff unless you ask for it. What do you want help with the most often? How long do you want to check in? And I have told mine to put a TLDR at the top because I got really annoyed when I read multiple screens of stuff and it had a TLDR at the bottom. So I will give it then I want you to give it a prompt like, here's what I want as a coach this semester, and then paste in your answers. When we think of LLMs as personalities, it's kind of weird. They are a programming trick. It is not a person. At the same time, we don't know how it works. LLMs work better with some personalities than they do with others. And there is no secret handbook. The folks at OpenAI, who are the people that have created ChatGPT, they don't know how or why it works. LLMs work better in May than December. And we think it's because it has read enough of the internet to think that it gets a winter break. But if you think of that, that is absolutely bizarre that a computer program, imagine if I told you your calculator worked better in May than in December. It doesn't make sense. And yet we don't really know what it is we're working with. It might give you a better answer if you say you're going to you're going to get fired if you don't get it right. You might get a better answer if you say, I'll give you a $100 tip if you do this beautifully. If you're doing math or science, it seems to work better as a Starfleet commander. So play around with what gets you what you want, but remember this is a computer programming and not a person. I use my LLM as a personal coach. It knows my projects, timelines, and personal goals. I have a folder called Advice for Me where I track long-term coaching, but you can't do this with the free version. Each of my projects has its own folder, but again, with your free one, you can't do that, so you need to save everything. Every week or so, I check in for big picture advice. How am I doing, or what should I prioritize this week? My LLM knows my ambitions, my deadlines, and what's realistic. I submitted an article and told it to wait 5 days before submitting elsewhere, and it reminded me. But it will only remind you if you ask for reminders like, what should I do today? So I would recommend that you upload your assignments for this semester. That table in the syllabus that has when everything's due, go ahead and upload that. Ask it to track your deadlines and give you a daily reminder. This is a 3-week class. Weekly reminders aren't going to work. And break your big assignment into smaller, manageable tasks. Help brainstorm speeches or paper topics, and then review your outlines for clarity and flow. Create personalized quiz prep guides. It can do all of this. Now, I just want to remind you that not all professors allow LLMs in their classes, but this class, I am encouraging it, but make sure you check your professor's policies before using your LLM. So here is my personalized to-do list, but actually this is from a couple weeks ago. When I put in one today, it said, go for a walk outside. And so I did it before it got hot. And it also reminded me to put aside some time to try to get my apartment tidier because it's a mess and it knows that. And it responds what it knows about you, but you need to keep it updated and use it regularly. It's a habit, it's not magic, but if you show up, it can be a really good coach. So, specific prompts you may want to use as the semester goes on. What should I work on today? Can you give me a to-do list for today? Please include prep for upcoming assignments. Help me start my speech. Break my research project into steps. Can you review this outline for clarity and flow? What questions should I be asking about my topic? What are the major arguments of people who disagree with me? Your final work needs to reflect your own thinking and voice, but you can use AI-generated feedback critically and responsibly. Think of this as a coach, not a shortcut. So here is some of my feedback, which I have found incredibly useful. Having the computer say, hey, you jump into line edits before you get the big picture in place is actually really helpful for me. And the clearer North Star I've worked on that I think has made projects better. So, I noticed you may have noticed I'm working on a book called Michael and Jamal, and it's saying the reason I want this is there aren't enough good boys books about being friends. There's all these girls books about being friends, not boys. I have a son. I want more books for boys about being friends. So how to get a better answer, give it clear details. The more you tell it, the less it guesses. Ask it to do step by step. First explain A, then explains B. This helps it think on track. It doesn't think when it's not writing. So having it give you an outline and then develop the specific steps of it, if you're having a hard time with something I've explained, can be useful. Start with your own draft, then shift tone and style. I will say make it nicer. I got in a fight with my building. I said, make it more legalistic. I'm often saying, make it sound easier to understand because, again, that whole PhD thing. You want to check with real sources. If you need facts, you need to double check. You work with it, not for it. Don't just put in a prompt and assume the answer is good. Give it lots of information and keep saying more of this. Try this again. Make this clearer. I really loved this quote from Ezra Klein, and the link is on the final slide. There is a collision between what a computer is in our minds and then this strange thing we seem to have invented, which is an entity that emerges out of language, an entity that almost emerges out of art. This is the thing I have the most trouble keeping track in my mind, that I need to use the AI as an imaginative, creative partner and not as a calculator that uses words. This is a prompt that I have given my ChatGPT, and I think it's useful. I'm going to ask you a question. Before responding, please follow these steps, and you can just cut and paste this if you like it. Plan silently, think through the question, map out your reasoning, consider relevant facts, and flag any assumptions or gaps. Verify. Use your internal tools, math, logic, code, or available sources. Double check key details for accuracy. Clarify. If anything in my question is unclear, ask me before answering. Respond. Give a clear, thoughtful, well-organized answer. Don't include your thought process, just your final response. And I really like this because before I did this, I would start getting like paragraphs of text faster than I could read, and my brain would start to turn off, and then I would finally get something. And I've really liked having it plan silently, verify, and clarify before it responds. So, for example, I thought you might want to see one of my ChatGPT sessions. So my building banned my e-bike. I've been trying to get a better option, and this was how I used ChatGPT. Note, this was a couple months ago, and it was before I put the TLDR at the top. It doesn't have a TLDR, but you can see that things get kind of long. You're going to be wanting a skill called meta prompting. Keep telling your LLM what you like and what you don't. Ask it for feedback on how you're working. If I were taking this class, I would upload the syllabus. Ask it not only for what is due right now, but help planning the assignments. You're going to ask for support, but do your own thinking. Use prompts like, what should I read today? Help me brainstorm persuasive speech topics related to New York City. Check this outline for missing transitions. Make a study guide for chapter 6 and 9. The LLMs can make up information. Don't use them as research sources. The final work needs to reflect your own voice and analysis. Don't rely on AI to fact check or cite sources. Be thoughtful. AI can reflect biases and it can miss key context. And save chat logs if you use AI significantly in your prep. Everything I've talked here has been almost entirely based on the book Co-Intelligence, the Ezra Klein podcast that I linked to at the end, and my experience. My experience is with a paid ChatGPT 4.0, and it is $20 a month, and I would not give it up at all. If they raise the price to $100 a month, I would be hard pressed, but I don't know that I'd give it up. You want to check chatgpt.com/students to see if they're running another free trial. But the free trial doesn't remember you once you close the browser tab or leave the website. And this is really essential for me. I have, as you can see on the right, this is a copy from my ChatGPT where I have folders for my different projects. And you can keep a tab open with this class, but eventually it's going to freeze and you're going to have to refresh. And also keep in mind that Chat 3.5, the free version, hallucinates way more than Chat 4.0, the paid version. From everything I've read, most people like me prefer Claude, but Claude does not keep track of your ongoing projects over time, even with the paid version. And so that's why I'm firmly in the Chat GPT world. So if you are coaching with your free LLM, at the end of each session, ask, can you summarize what you know about me, how I want you to work with me, and what I'm working on so I can paste it into our next chat? And when I did that, this is what I got. If that's useful for you, you can look at it. I have the slides that you can look at your own speed. Privacy and ethics. We do not know how ChatGPT uses the stuff we put in it. We don't know how Claude uses the stuff we use in it. I don't think ChatGPT and Claude are training off of us, but I don't know that they're not. So you want to anonymize your examples. If you're sharing real people or stories, use initials or fake names. I tend to use an X or an asterisk instead of anybody's real names. Don't paste confidential information in. You want to read the fine print. And if you want to learn more, here's a good article that you can link to when you download the PowerPoint on protecting your privacy. Health data. Everybody will say, don't share health data with an LLM, but I do it. I have found that my doctors just 30 minutes a year is not enough to figure out what's going on with me. And I have found ChatGPT really useful to brainstorm questions to talk to my doctors about and then request tests. And it's been really helpful in helping care for my aging parents. Everyone says this is not recommended. So if you do share health info, you need to understand the risks. We don't know how they use our information. So if you are using it for private stuff, I use an incognito browser. I don't sign in. I only share relative details. I make up stuff. I say I'm asking for a friend, and half the time I am asking for a friend. And if you accidentally share stuff when you're signed in, you can delete that conversation from your account to remove the association, but it's not going to delete it from the LLM's computer that I know of. I want to take a few minutes to talk about mental health and LLMs. So some of you may have a chatbot friend, and my guess is more of you will in 10 years. I think I'm too old to have a chatbot friend. I want to be able to talk on the phone, and I can always hear the way chatbots sound computery to me, although I may not be able to in a couple of years. But they are not therapists. They don't have feelings, boundaries, or training in mental health care. They cannot pick up on red flags. They cannot check in on your well-being later. Still, they can be helpful. They can help you organize your thoughts, sort through patterns, figure out how you want to talk to someone about something, brainstorm on how to bring up difficult topics. And the thing that's the most helpful for me is they remind me to call or text my friends and remind me to go outside for a walk. I right now have ChatGPT reminding me to go for a walk every morning because it gets hot. And if I do it later in the day, it's too hot. So first thing in the morning, it tells me to go for a walk and it helps me pick one thing I'm going to tidy or work on decluttering today. You want to use it as caution and care. It is not a replacement for real support or real friends. You do not want to share identifying or highly personal information. Don't rely on it for help in a crisis. If you are using it, say, help me think through this, not solve it. Keep your identity private. Avoid giving your full medical and therapy histories. Focus on option or reflections. It cannot diagnose. And I just want to say, Ostos has a wonderful counseling center that's free. I've hyperlinked it here. So reach out for a real person, a counselor, or a free hotline. You deserve a real person who can care for you and not just an LLM responding. Now, a couple warnings. LLMs mess up. They mess up all the times. We know they mess up on accident. We also know that they lie to us. They tell us stuff that isn't true. I am writing a rhyming children's book, and I was going through couplet by couplet, which I loved doing because it could just give me a couplet at the playground when I'm watching my kid. And my brain gets too full when I'm working on poetry to do more than a couplet at a time. So I would say it, I'd say, lock it. Then I went back and it did not lock anything. And over again, I tried to correct it and it could not get to the most recent version. It was making up stuff. Everything I'm doing has 4 lines. It was doing 5 lines. It was doing 3 lines. It lost all the rhymes. It was so frustrating. So I now have it confirm my draft after every couplet. And you want to save your work out of ChatGPT. I have the paid version. So I now have it number each stanza so that I can search for the latest work on each stanza whenever I'm working it up. But I just want to show you multiple times I was saying this isn't related version. And it would say, thank you, you're absolutely right. Here's the confirmed version. And it wasn't it. And it was so sure of itself and it was wrong. So I just want to point out that it seems like it knows what it's doing. But if this were a person, I would have fired it over this. But it's nevertheless really useful. Now, this is how Elisa is using AI right now. It may not be how you are using AI right now. So if this rings true to you, please give it a try. Oops, I just stopped share. Let me share this again. This is my final slide, and I didn't want to have a whole bunch of dead space at the end of the slide. Um, the Ezra Klein podcast, How I Should Be Using AI Right Now. I have listened to this. It's a year old. I've listened to it every 2 months for the last year, and it is far and away the most helpful thing that I have found at this time. You can get it for free at this link, but you may need to go to NewYorkTimes.com passes where you can get a free year to the New York Times. The book Co-Intelligence, who is by the author of the Ezra Klein podcast, is great. There is a podcast series called How I AI. You may also want to go to various different what you find useful, but it is not an option to say, I'm not going to use AI. There are going to be very, very few jobs left when you are done with school for people who say, oh, I don't use AI. It's just not where our economy is going right now. People who use AI well are going to be sought after. And figuring out how you can use it well is going to be important, not just for this class, but for your profession going forward. Thanks so much.